feeling that I feel for like young NBA max contract guys when they get corn stars pregnant is embarrassment.
Yeah.
You know, because you had everything going for you and you chose to have a baby with a corn star. What culture did you fall into? Who got a hold of you? Because that's all that means. It's like someone got a hold of your brain and put you at a lower tier than the average man. The average man would be like, oh, I ain't getting no porn star pregnant. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but people gotta understand.
Man has more
people gotta
sense
understand that these guys are really average men in terms of their mental capabilities. Just because you could dunk a basketball don't mean that you're intelligent, and honestly, just because you're intelligent don't mean that you're gonna be make disciplined decisions. And I think it's really easy for guys to try to toot the horn of being more self-righteous and try to make it seem like they wouldn't fall into these same pitfalls, but that's just because they don't have the access to it. There are a lot of guys that if they had the access to those types of women, they may think, I don't want to get this woman pregnant, but I don't think Anthony Edwards did it wanting to get the woman pregnant. By the way, guys, just for a little bit of context, this has to do with a woman that's a P-star who Anthony Edwards got pregnant, and before she even decided to carry on with the baby, he messaged her and told her he would pay her for her to get rid of the baby, and that he didn't want to have anything to do with the baby. But, of course, the girl who does the work, the corn work, she wanted to have the baby anyway because she cares about money. And now he's going to be in a situation where he has a child that resents him, and it's going to be a broken household because the woman wants the money, and the man was dumb enough to sleep with a woman who was all about the money. And that's how it happens. So that's just to give a little context. But, yeah, there are a lot of guys who try to act like they wouldn't fall into these same pitfalls, but they don't have the options and the opportunities that guys like Anthony Edwards has. Now, I do think there's a lack of discipline involved, of course, and I do think it's dumb, of course. And I think that in a lot of religious texts or just historical texts in general, they warn men of the pitfalls of great men when it comes to women. And that's just what this is. This is another example of that. A lack of discipline leading to you having a pitfall.
I'm making $50 million a year. That's so embarrassing because we always use a benchmark as money. Like, oh, this person has a lot of money. They must be smart, disciplined, you know, all the stuff that I'm not. They have a lot of money. I have to do all of this to get money. And then you see them make the dumbest decision they can possibly make. And you go, wait, they're none of that. It's almost as if they're lucky to have good genetics.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And that's the part that makes me cringe the most. Because for a lot of people, it's just true. Like, they might have a decent work ethic and excellent genetics, and now they're making $40 million a year.
Yeah.
But they don't have anything else, not even a brain. You're telling me LeBron James was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16. I don't know about y'all. I'm a LeBron mega fan. But at 16, he was already incredibly famous. He was, you know, the guy before that. Probably locally, everyone knew who he was and all that. Let's just start at 16. Cover of Sports Illustrated. The chosen one. And he didn't get any corn stars pregnant. He has had ample time and opportunity. And I know there are things that have been swept under the rug.
But LeBron, and he, like he was about to say, I'm assuming there probably are things swept under the rug. But LeBron James has a wife, and that helps him focus. And that's one of the things, that's one of the intangible things that a lot of guys might not understand about having a wife. It allows you to stay a lot more focused because they can take care of some of the tasks so that your brain don't have to operate with those types of things. And I know for me personally, even when I was running Division I track, when I was playing rugby, what allowed me to be very focused in comparison to other dudes my age was I wasn't chasing tail. And a lot of those dudes had great genetics. A lot of those dudes had great opportunities, but they was chasing tail. I know one guy specifically that he was having a kid earlier on in our and this was like when I was in junior college. So I was a freshman in college. He was having a kid, and Adidas came to the school and said that they were willing to give him a contract because he was having a kid. All he had to do was run a certain time that he had already ran in the past. He had ran this time all the way back in high school. The dude started smoking weed, sleeping with women in the dorms. Next thing you know, failing grades, failed to get the contract. Just like that, opportunity gone. And so, you dealing with these women that ain't got nothing to lose, and you a man that got a lot to lose, and they just there to leech off of you. And all they got to give to you is good box. And a lot of dudes will fall victim because they fools, to be honest.
Rug. But, like, how does a corn star get a hold of Zion? How does a 38-year-old woman get a hold of Anthony Edwards.
Because they in the places to do it and they're smart about it. There was a woman named Brittany Renner, and we talked about this a couple years back. She's now converted to Islam, of course. But when she was in her heyday, in her early 20s, she said that NFL players, NBA players, and NFL players, sports players, athletes are dumb. If you want to go get some money, go get pregnant by an NBA player or a sports player of some sort. She said pretty much sports in general. She wrote an entire book on it, and then a guy who plays for Dallas named P.J. Washington got her pregnant like a dummy. A woman who literally wrote the book on taking advantage of men, the guy still went and got her pregnant. And it's because these women know when to get into these opportunities. They're the first one. They sitting on the sidelines. They got their bodies done with plastic, so they look alluring to the male gaze, to what men generally find attractive in a woman. And they're low-hanging fruit, but they're the poisonous fruit. They deal with these women because they're low-hanging fruit. That's one of the reasons they deal with these types of women, because they know they're easy to go. But the only issue is they also going to take advantage of you when you get caught. So they low-hanging fruit, but they poisonous fruit. If you got you a good woman, they not going to go for it that easily. And I know a lot of ladies talk online, and people might have this misconception or this conception of women. Yeah, there are some women that are promiscuous. Yeah, there are some women that will take advantage, but usually those are women that are mildly similar to these women. But if you got yourself a good woman with a head on her shoulders who don't just want you for money, they not just going to go for nothing. Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't sleep with an NBA player eventually, but I'm saying for nothing, no. But these women will, because they're looking to the future. Their goal is totally different than what a lot of other women's is, and that's just to make the money off the back end. And a lot of dudes fall victim to it.
And when I say
lack
a
of
hold, I
discipline.
mean like getting pregnant, public relationships, all that. How does that happen? And you're not embarrassed? It's crazy to realize that like these boys a lot of times their brain stops growing at like 15 in terms of maturity, with no foresight of the future. None at all. They don't think about their 30-year-old self. Same thing for people who get tattoos on their face. I put them in the same thing.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's just like the story of King Solomon. It's just like multiple stories throughout human history where guys get taken advantage of, strong men get taken advantage of because they fall victim to their impulses, especially their sexual impulses. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter how much money you make or how good you are at a sport or whoever you think you are. When a woman gets pregnant by you, she has all the reproductive rights, and you are now her slave. Essentially, you are now going to go to work for the next 18 years to provide a life for not your kid. Not your kid. You're going to provide a life for her. And she going to be going shopping and spending the money. But again, it's poisonous fruit on both ends, though, because she going to have all that money, but it's only going to be for 18 years. And so after that 18 years and the kid move out, and this happens time and time again, I've seen story and story on this. Ladies getting pregnant by rich, famous, wealthy guys, and by the time the women or the kids turn 18 and that child support money ain't coming in like it was, you ain't got no investments because you've been short-sighted and spending the money. And next thing you know, you on your butt again. But this time you ain't got no applicable skills, and you 36 years old. 40 years old, 45 years old. And who going to want to invest in the potential of a 45-year-old? See, when you're younger and in your earlier 20s, companies will be okay sometimes. And that's even, hard to find nowadays with your lack of experience, because they will invest in your potential. But when these ladies turn 45 and that child support money dry up, ain't nobody hiring them. Because they not even believing in your potential at 45 years old with no job experience. What have you been doing for the past so many years, right? So, yeah, this is what the issue is. Guys falling victim to their own sexual impulses, and just because you could put a ball in the net don't mean that you're going to be disciplined in the areas that you need to be disciplined in. And when you already have all that money and almost everything else that you need in the world, the fame, the opportunities, everything else that you need, it's more important than ever to be especially sexually disciplined as a man. Because that woman who wants that money from you will get that money, and she will weaponize the state against you to get it. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. Regardless of what that kid might want in the future, a relationship with their dad, or whatever it may be, some type of stability in the home, that kid will not get that now. All because two people wanted to make irresponsible decisions. And that's what it is at the end of the day. But I agree with him. A lack of sexual discipline, and it's embarrassing. I seen a dude, I forget was it John Morant or one of these NBA players out in Colorado. I used to play rugby out in Colorado too, in Glendale specifically, owns a club named Shotgun Willie's. There was video footage, which was probably sold, by the way, so somebody probably sold this footage to the media outlets, of one of them NBA players in there throwing $19,000 worth of ones in the air for a stripper. What are you doing, bro? It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. So that was the mayor that and some other rugby guys will work at that strip club for as security. So that's how I really know about it. But yeah, I'm trying to tell you, man, that sexual discipline, it is a discipline, and a lot of guys lack it. And even guys who act like they would be disciplined, that's just because they don't have the opportunities a lot of the times. But it's still certainly embarrassing. But who am I though? I'm just a brokey.